Number 9. C&J G-Class Pacifics. I wasn't really planning on adding these G-Class Pacifics onto my list, but I decided to add to it since they almost made it to preservation. So, let me explain. The C&J's G-Class Pacifics were inspired by the Reading's G-Class Pacifics, being built between 1918 and 1930 by the Baldwin Locomotive Works into 4 batches. The first batch of Pacifics, classified as G1s, being built in the year 1918 by Baldwin, with a total of 6 being built, number 820 to 825. And then, a second batch of C&J Pacifics, classified as G2s, built in the year 1923 by also Baldwin, with a total of 5 being built, number 826 to 830. And then, a third batch of C&J Pacifics, classified as G3s, built in 1927, also by Baldwin, with a total of 5 being built, number 831 to 835. And then, the last batch of C&J Pacifics, classified as G4s, built in the year of 1930, also by Baldwin, with a total of 5 being built, and then numbered 810 to 814. However, before the last batch of Pacifics came to the C&J, on February 17th, 1929, C&J's newest passenger train at the time, the Blue Comet, made its first debut, running from Jersey City to Atlantic City. To add on, Locomotive 831 to 833 were painted into the blue and white paint scheme to match up with the coaches. The Pacifics would continue hauling passenger trains with the C&J, making its life uneventful, until when dieselization came to the C&J, and the Pacifics were downgraded to secondary passenger trains, while the diesels handled the high-priority assignments. And once retirement came, they met the scrapper's torch, and then all of them were scrapped. Well, one of them almost made it to preservation, actually. One locomotive in particular was C&J G4 810. The 810 had run excursions to worker base on the C&J, and the railroad even floated the idea to preserve the 810. But however, since no one or museum wanted the 810, the C&J sadly sent the 810 to the scrapper's torch, and the locomotive was gone, been reduced to nothing but ashes. It's a shame that this Pacific was gone, even though the C&J did float the idea to preserve one, unlike one locomotive. It would be nice to have this Pacific preserved. Number 8. The CP&Q Heavy 210-2 Santa Fe's. The CP&Q 210-2 Santa Fe designs came from the USRA, which they designed the Heavy Santa Fe's. Built in 1919 with a total of 135 Santa Fe's being produced for 5 railroads. The CP&Q in particular ordered 10 Heavy Santa Fe's and classified them as M3, number 6300 to 6309. The other 4 are the Bessemer and Lake Erie Railroad, the Erie Railroad, the Colorado Southern, and the Pennsylvania Railroad, which the railroad has the most Santa Fe's with a total of 130 being built. But this is the CP&Q we're talking about here. After the CP&Q acquired the 10 Heavy Santa Fe's from the USRA, they were placed into freight service, hauling freight trains across the CP&Q system. They would continue hauling freight trains across the CP&Q and even helping the USA in World War II. After the Second World War, dieselization came to the CP&Q, and once retirement came, the CP&Q's Heavy Santa Fe's met the scrapper's torch, and they're all unceremoniously scrapped. What about the other Santa Fe's on the 4 railroads? Unfortunately, they met the same fate as the CP&Q's. They met the scrapper's torch, and they reduced to nothing but ashes. Number 7. The Santa Fe and the Boston, Maine 284 Berkshires. Now, there is a reason why I decided to add both of these locomotives onto the list, but take a watch to find out. So, let's first start off with the Santa Fe Berkshires. The year was 1927, and the Santa Fe was the only Western American railroad to purchase 284 Berkshires. They got 15 Berkshires from the Baldwin Locomotive Works and were designated as Class 4101s and number 4101 to 4115. Now, onto the B&M Berkshires. In 1928, the Boston and Maine had purchased 25 Berkshires from the Lyman Locomotive Works and numbered 4,000 to 4020, with the first batch of 20 Berkshires being designated as Class T1As arrived in 1928, and then the last 5 designated as Class T1Bs would arrive in 1929. Both the Berkshires were used in freight service, only featuring across the Santa Fe and the Boston and Maine system. But however, unlike the Santa Fe, the Boston and Maine's Berkshires were having problems during its service life. And now, this is where the reason why these two were on the list. This was during the closing months of World War II, and the Santa Fe were having a locomotive crisis. So in 1945, the Santa Fe went to the Boston and Maine and bought 7 of the Berkshires. Those were being 4001, 4003, 4004, 4008, 4011, 4015, and 4018. And they are reclassified as the 4193 class, renumbered from 4193 to 4199. The Santa Fe fixed the 7 Boston and Maine's Berkshire's problems and also gave them a redesign. And I gotta say, that design looks so much better. And in fact, the Santa Fe wasn't the only railroad to buy Berkshires from the Boston and Maine, as another railroad, the Southern Pacific, also bought the Boston and Maine's Berkshires. And their looks, it's quirky to say the least. The Berkshires continued hauling freight trains across the Santa Fe and the Boston and Maine system until when dieselization came to the Santa Fe and the Boston and Maine. And then retirement began, with the Boston and Maine being retired and scrapped in 1946, and then the Santa Fe followed along 3 years later in 1949, and all of them were gone. It's really a shame that these Berkshires from both railroads aren't preserved, but I really wish to see a Santa Fe Berkshire preserved, since the Santa Fe were the only Western American railroads to have Berkshires. I mean, the Berkshires you see most of the time are used by Eastern railroads, such as the Chesapeake and Ohio, for example. Number 6. The Chicago Brittany Quincy Colorados. Between 1927 and 29, the Chicago Brittany Quincy Railroad received 18 Texas-type steam locomotives from the Bowen Locomotive Works at Between 1927 and 29, the Chicago Brittany Quincy Railroad had received 18 Texas-type locomotives from the Bowen Locomotive Works, but they were separated into 2 batches, with the first 12 being classified as M4As, and then the last 6 being classified as M4Bs in numbers 6310 to 6327. However, instead of them being called Texas types, they instead have been called the Colorado types. They were built for freight trains across the CB&Q system, and after the Second World War, the utilization came to the CB&Q, and one by one, the Colorado types would be retired and be sent to the scrapper stores to be scrapped. However, one almost made it to preservation actually. One locomotive in particular was CB&Q number 6315. In summer 1955, the CB&Q has hosted a steam program where the steam locomotives would hold excursions across the system, and 6315 was one of 21 steam locomotives to hold the excursions. The 2 well-known steam locomotives are CB&Q 4960, a 01A 22 Mikado, and CB&Q 5632, a 05B 44 Northern. In 1959, the 6315 and the 5632 has been tested to double-header excursion. However, during its trip, the 6315 had broken down, and the 5632 had to hold the excursion by itself, with no trouble. After that, the 6315 was sent to the deadline and wasn't scrapped until 1964, 2 years before the CB&Q had ended the steam program. It's really a shame that these Colorado types wasn't preserved. I mean, if one Colorado type was preserved, it would be sent somewhere in the state of Colorado. You know, since they're named Colorado and there's a US state named Colorado. Okay, I think I'll stop with the jokes now.